The Seattle Seahawks were the first team to not make the playoffs as we enter the 2025 offseason. So now they will be entering the draft, wondering how they can get back into the playoffs and make another run at the Lombardi Trophy. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to be breaking down the first 3 round Seattle Seahawks mock draft of the 2025 NFL Draft. But before we get into that, if you like the content that Ryan and I like to put out and you want to help the channel grow, the easiest way is hitting that subscribe button, tackling that bell, and leaving a like and a comment. Let us know what you want to see the Seahawks do in this draft. And Ryan, now you can show the fans who they selected with the first round pick. So we did a full 3 round mock draft. And so as you can see, we went with Armand Membou, offensive tackle out of Missouri. And I think one of the things too with Armand Membou sitting at 6'3", but he could play tackle if he wanted to, is just going to be his overall versatility. This guy that's been rising up draft boards as well. And when you watch him on film, you understand why. Super explosive, super powerful. And if you're the Seattle Seahawks team, you're just wanting to just find some ways that you can protect Geno Smith, establish some sort of running game with the two running backs, two really good running backs that you have. And so with Seattle, though, it's just very interesting because this is, especially over the past couple of drafts that I can remember, guys that it's not a guarantee that our Armand Membou is going to be a interior offensive lineman. I guess he could play tackle. He
Yeah.
probably will be. So I guess there's no guarantee. But I say that specifically because it's this is kind of about where we've started to see the top interior offensive linemen go over the past several years. Like Tyler Linderbaum, for example, went 16. I'm sure there are other examples as well that I'm just blanking on as of right now. But I think this could be a spot that they could go. Ryan, what are some other potential options that the Seahawks could go here to keep improving their team and finding good value?
Yeah, I mean, they could go with Malachi Starks. He's a really solid player that went 5 picks after this. Colston Loveland, I think, would be an interesting option. He actually, in this mock, fell out of the first round.
Mhm.
But I do believe, is it Noah Fant? No, he's on the Broncos now. Um, I forget who their tight
No,
end
no
is, but
offense on the
no,
Seahawks
he is. He was traded from Denver in the
to
Russell Wilson
Seattle.
trade.
Yeah.
But I believe Noah Fant could be moved on from this offseason. So getting a guy like Colston Loveland might be a good fit there. And then Gray Zabel, the big riser out of the Senior Bowl, I think that would be a really interesting offensive line option there. Because when you kind of compare him and Armand Membou has the arm length and the athleticism to make it outside at tackle at the next level. He's just 6'3". That's a little bit short, can lead to extra batted passes. He does have like the natural leverage game kind of already won at 6'3". And so I think that it would be really interesting to see. I'm not holding the spot for Abraham Lucas. He's just been injured too much for my liking. And so if Armand Membou comes in and is a better right tackle, then that's where I play him. If not, he can slot right in there at right guard as well. So I really like Armand Membou. I think he's going to be a name that a lot of people are talking about come late April. And I think getting him here at 18 would be a really solid pick here for
Yeah.
the Seattle Seahawks. So let's move on to their second pick, where we actually go with Shermar Stewart. So one, I will say we did this before the mock draft or before the Senior Bowl. And so I know these videos are coming out a couple weeks after, but Shamar Stewart, maybe not as much as Mike Green, but helped himself out a ton. He really showed his athleticism and his strength in comparison to other offensive linemen of similar caliber. And so I think maybe him being here at 50 is a little bit lofty. With that being said, this is a really deep defensive line class. This is like from defensive tackles to edge rushers to true defensive ends. I think that there could be guys that do fall. And Shamar Stewart, I think, has some concerns in the running game. But if you just look at him on like a prospect, like height, weight, speed, like look at what I could do with this guy if I can just get my hands on him. I think Shamar Stewart is near the top of that list in this class. And I think getting him here at 50 would be tremendous value for the Seattle Seahawks. Pair him up with Boye Mafe, Byron Murphy. I think that would be a really, really solid fit.
Well, and also too, just if you look at it, Leonard Williams, 6'5", 300 pounds, Jaron
Mm-hmm.
Reed, 6'3", 307, Shamar Stewart's 6'5", 6'6", 295. So he would kind of fit that mold of what they're looking for. And that's what's going to be interesting with Shamar Stewart, where it's like the exact opposite of like a guy like of like Mike Green or Donovan Ezra stature. It's like his size, I think, does kind of limit him to certain type of defensive packages. For example, and so I can see some people. You see the explosiveness and the overall athleticism from a guy from his size, but teams might want to go more for a traditional edge rusher type size of a 6'5", 270, so to say, or like the outside linebacker like Mike Green. So
Actually, I believe Shamar Stewart is 6'6", 280, but I could be wrong.
I think that's Nick scored. I think Shamar Stewart's is 295. Double check on PFF for me while I finish my point. But so that's where I say like nothing to take away from him, but that's where he's going to be one of those guys as well in this draft that he could go 15th. Maybe the Seahawks could even take him with their first round pick, or he could fall here or maybe fall a little bit more. It's going to be how teams are evaluating him. The combine is going to be great to see how he stacks up compared to a lot of these other defensive linemen because this defensive line class is just an absolute tour de force. There's so many good players here, and
Mhm.
teams could really fall in love or fall out of love with certain guys when it comes to this combine. And so I think Shamar Stewart is a very unique prospect here. And so maybe this is too low for him, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see come April.
So he's 280 on NFL.com. He's 290 on PFF.
Okay,
So
285.
285.
Yeah,
Yeah. But no, he's a really good prospect. You look at height, weight, speed, just overall athleticism. He should be a first rounder in this class. Tape wise, I have some concerns there, which could cause him to fall. But again, NFL coaches are notorious for being like, let me see what I can do if I
yeah.
can get my hands on a guy like him. So let's move on to their third and final pick in this mock draft here. So we went with Lathan Ransom, the safety out of Ohio State. It's going to be more of a box safety, going to play more down by the line of scrimmage. But I think that could fit well. Mike McDonald likes to be creative. I could kind of imagine him in like a Kyle Hamilton-esque role where maybe he's more in coverage with tight ends or maybe over a slot receiver. I do not think that he will be playing like a deep, like covering deep as like a single high safety. I think at best he'll be playing kind of like a deep cover two where he at least has a half of a field instead of like the full range. But he is a bigger safety where I think he could definitely come down and contribute in the run game and just be physical at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and I think here there's so many different routes the Seahawks could go, especially too like another route they could end up going is maybe receiver with this third round pick. It's more than likely Tyler Lockett's going to be a cap casualty just with where Seattle's at with their cap space and just knowing how much Tyler Lockett is getting paid by them. And so maybe receiver here, but I think this is where they start to get into just best player available because once again I look at this roster here and maybe they double dip on the two positions that they've already addressed. But they've got the skill position players. They've got the receivers. Geno Smith is a fine enough quarterback, I think, for the time being. Right now, it's not like you're going to replace him in this draft, anyways. You got good running backs. I think you've got the cornerbacks you're looking for, like Reek Woolen, Devin Witherspoon. And I think there's some things. There are some positives on the defensive line. So here, I think they're going to go best player available. The way the board worked out, Lathan Ransom was the guy, and I think he's a solid player. So I think he can help contribute a lot. So we'll have to kind of wait and see with Seattle here. But very interesting. The NFC West is going to be extremely interesting because the Cardinals are getting legit. The Niners are definitely going to look to bounce back and probably their last real Super Bowl year with this core group of guys. Even if Deebo Samuel gets traded, it does start to feel like maybe they'll start to kind of chip away from some of these guys like Trent Williams, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. Like all those guys might start thinking about retiring or moving on to different things as well. And the Rams are still the Rams. I mean, Sean McVay might be the best coach in the NFC West. I think it'd be between him and Kyle Shanahan, and I think Sean
Yeah.
McVay's just been much more consistent. I feel. Well, let me rephrase that. I think Sean McVay's done a lot more with a lot little, I should say.
Yeah.
And so the Seahawks are going to have to continue to keep on producing good draft picks and start to produce a lot better results in the trenches if they want to continue to have relevancy in the NFC West and the NFC as a whole.
Yeah. And that is, I am curious to see kind of where they end up in the NFC West as kind of the reshuffling takes place, because the Cardinals are on the come up. The Seahawks have kind of been plateauing at or right above 500 the last couple seasons, and so I am curious to see if that's going to be an option, or if they're going to take that next step and play at a higher level in 2025. I definitely think with some of the draft choices that we made, we could be setting them up well to do that. But let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of the Seattle Seahawks 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? And other than that, we'll see you guys next time.